how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
For this episode, I sit down and chat with Susanna Wolk. Susanna is the director of Waitress the Musical, the second national tour that I am a part of. And we have a wonderful conversation in the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Vancouver. And this is a fun, bite-sized conversation where she sheds a little light onto her upbringing, the shows she's worked on previously, upcoming shows, and all of the little tidbits that have brought us together. She's a wonderful director, and this is a wonderful conversation. So, Susanna, thank you for having the conversation with me, and enjoy. We're back. I'm Clayton Howe, and today with me is Susanna Wolk.
Hi.
Susanna.
Hey, Clayton.
It's been a journey.
It really has been, hasn't it?
Yes. For the listeners, we opened last night, Waitress, the tour, second national in Vancouver.
Yep.
We're at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre behind the stage in the dressing rooms.
Yes, we are in Clayton's dressing room right now. It's a very comfy chair, I must say.
This is a wonderful theater.
It's gorgeous.
45 minutes to places, so let's see what we can get
Love it.
captured. Rewinding back in time for Susanna. As a child, what were your theater dreams?
I definitely was a pretty shy kid growing up, and it wasn't really until I started doing theater that I kind of learned to make friends and find my community and find my voice and be able to like express myself in groups of people.
Yeah.
So, I started doing youth theater when I was, probably 7 or 8, and immediately kind of found a really amazing way of connecting with the world and engaging with people and telling stories, and that was really huge for me. So,
did your parents cultivate it and support it, or what was that?
Definitely. My dad is actually a writer and a director himself. He does mainly TV, but kind of started out in theater, and so that was definitely something that he and I, and my mom is a big arts lover, so definitely something that we all shared. And I was definitely taken to the theater a lot as a child and listened to every single soundtrack. Like that and the Beatles were like my music growing up. It was musical theater and soundtracks, mainly Sondheim shows.
Why?
Amongst others. I don't know. Definitely loved like Company from like the age of 10. My parents were like, what does this mean?
What a grown child.
Yeah, like Sweeney Todd. They were like, oh wow, that's bloody.
Do you remember the first one you saw, show?
The first show I saw?
That you recall?
I'm pretty sure the first like Broadway show I saw was Beauty and the Beast. I don't really remember it too well, but the first like iconic theater moment that I can remember being really amazed was the like revival of 42nd Street. I must have been like 7 or 8 when we saw it in New York, and the like first moment of the show, they just like lift the curtain and it was everyone's feet tapping, and I will never forget how like inspired and like giddy I was at that.
Electric.
So that was definitely a moment that sealed it all in, so to speak.
Yeah. What were you learning, or what have you learned from your parents about like work ethic?
Definitely to just be a really good listener, and I think like a big part of directing and like making any sort of art really is just having a good bedside manner, and that's definitely something that I saw with my dad. And my mom is she was a doctor, now she teaches, but her class is also about that sort of thing. Definitely just how you treat people makes such a big difference in the work that you make and you do. And also it was really great to have a parent who was an artist, and for me to see that was a possible, like that was never
like you could have a family.
Really a doubt in my mind that, I could have a life as a theater artist.
That's a mental block.
Totally.
I think many people struggle with.
Absolutely. So I feel really lucky that I haven't really, there are certainly all sorts of struggles, but especially it's not coming from my parents at all. They're very supportive.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So how have you gotten better at like listening? You know, are you listening for more key words when you're communicating with someone? Are you just taking it all in more?
I think it's just making space for people to feel safe to share what's going on. And, you know, any piece of art you're making, you want everyone to be bringing their full, authentic selves. And so sometimes it's just about, you know, it's not about me. Sometimes it's about everyone else. And
that is a little bit of like what it is to be a leader.
Yeah.
That's so true. I want to go to college, that moment in college where you decided maybe I'll do directing.
Yeah. So I guess I directed a play the very first time I was in high school. It was the first play I directed. Okay. It was a short play. My school did this like play festival where students could write their own plays, and I got to be like a student director of one, which was like very exciting. My like best friend had written it. My other best friend was in it, and then the other actor in it was actually Ben Platt. I love to brag about.
No way.
The first play I ever directed
in high school.
You
guys went to high school together.
Yeah,
that's funny. How funny.
And so that was. I was like, oh, this is cool. I think, and I sort of didn't really think much of it. I was sort of like, oh, this will be an experience that I'll have that will help me grow as an actor and performer and theater maker. And kind of when I was in college, I started to realize that I really cared a lot more about like the process and the big picture of theater than I like cared about the actual performing. So I guess, I spent a summer at Williamstown Theatre Festival after my freshman year of college. And when you're there as an apprentice, you're doing everything. You're building sets, you're hanging lights, you're the run crew of a show. You're also like performing and doing all these like crazy midnight like cabaret things, and you're doing press and marketing, and they kind of just put you to work doing everything. And that was so exciting for me. And I realized like I actually love being in rehearsal and the process of putting a show together way more than I love the actual performing of it. And so kind of when I got back from that, I was like, oh, I want to try this whole directing thing again, because that seems like a better way to like synthesize the big picture of a story as opposed to one element of it. And yeah, that was really fun for me. And I sort of kept performing in college, and I do think that it's two sides of the same coin, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Have you dabbled in writing?
Not so much. I don't think I like have the patience for it, and like what I really like about theater is the like social collaborative element of it, and I think that a lot of times writing can be really solitary. But I do have a lot of great collaborations with writers, and that's like a really fun part about directing, is collaborating with writers and composers and lyricists. So.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. To date, is there a project that has taught you the most about yourself, or standout lessons that you've learned or witnessed in the room, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, just because this experience of doing this show has been so fresh, and we're still sort of in the thick of it. This has been like a really special experience in terms of like I've been an associate on a lot of different Broadway shows, and I've directed a lot of my own work in but this is the first time I was sort of leading a company on this scale and in this size theater, and with the amount of moving pieces that we have. So it was really cool for me to just take everything I've learned on a lot of different shows and experiences and apply that on like a big broader level. So that's been really special.
Yeah. What I love about you is that with everything and all the stakes and all of that, you're cool as a cucumber.
Oh, thanks.
You come off cool
as I don't feel that way.
That's why I say you come off cool as a cucumber. Is there self-talk that you're going through? Are you meditating? Are you just reminding yourself what's up? Are you calling someone and venting? Or is it just...
I don't know. I think it's important to like always find joy in what you're doing. And like, I love this show and I love
Oh
all
my
of
God, yeah.
the people in our family. And so that makes a really big difference. So that even when things do go wrong, it's, you know, we just
Go with the flow.
go with the flow because we're doing something that we love. I don't know. I do yoga a lot.
You do?
Although I haven't really since we got to
I haven't
Boise
done.
/ Vancouver. I really have not moved my body much.
We've been sitting.
We've been sitting and
moving.
climbing over seats. So that's kind of been my main form of exercise.
It's so true. This is such a great show. I was listening to the album today while I was running. I don't
Nice.
listen to musical theater when I run. I don't. And
Probably for the best.
it is usually for the best, but there was some about the show. I was listening to it and I was like, I'm so in love with it. I love the music. And I want to talk about your journey into this show. How did that relationship come up with Diane? And how did your relationship come to lead this?
Yeah. So I went to Harvard for my undergrad, and the American Repertory Theater is really entrenched in the Harvard community. So their space is actually part of the Harvard campus. Harvard is very involved there, and like students direct show. Like I got to direct shows like in the A.R.T's Mainstage and in their second space,
freaking awesome.
OBERON, which is amazing. And they also have a lot of opportunities for students to get involved there as interns and assistants and whatnot. So I got to, I guess, the summer after, I want to say my sophomore year of college, I got to be Diane's intern. I was working at A.R.T and was assigned to be her kind of intern for this summer. And that was when the A.R.T was doing their like workshop of Pippin. So it was like kind of the first time putting stuff for Pippin on its feet. And that was like so beyond exciting for me.
Yeah. Were you just pulled out of a hat, your name?
I had sort of done a couple of other things at A.R.T at the time, so they sort of knew me
Okay.
there, and they knew that I was interested in directing, and so they sort of paired us up that way.
Cool.
And that was an amazing experience. And then I also had taken directing class with her because she taught a directing class while I was in school. And so yeah, we just kind of struck up a really wonderful relationship. And I was really lucky that right after I graduated that summer, the A.R.T was doing Finding Neverland there. So I got to work on Finding Neverland that summer. And then it kind of moved to Broadway right after that. So that was sort of the first big show that I worked on in New York, which was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I stayed working for Diane in a number of different capacities, both on Finding Neverland, and we did a tour for that. We did a show called Invisible Thread at Second Stage. And I was also sort of still involved with A.R.T. And yeah, kind of in that time was when Waitress first came to fruition. So I got to be a part of the original company for setting it on Broadway, which was wonderful. And then about 2 years ago, we launched the first national tour.
Yes.
That was 2 years ago in Cleveland we launched. So I was the assistant director for that as well. And then that tour closed over the summer. And so they approached me to see if I wanted to be the tour director for this tour. And I was like, of course.
You're like, yes.
Would I miss it for the world?
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What have you just, I'm curious, like witnessed ways of beings with the actors and Diane, within Waitress?
Yeah. I mean, she is definitely someone, what's amazing about her is the way that she can really challenge people and push them to bring out their absolute best work. Like that, what's amazing about her is she really makes an environment where everyone is working their absolute hardest and putting their absolute best in. And it's an extremely collaborative experience. Like even when I was just like an intern with her, like she would be like, okay, what do you think? And like we'd have these meetings like for different shows where we would, all be like pitching in like lyrics together and research. And, it really is the type of environment where anyone can bring an idea and the best idea goes. So that was super cool to witness and be a part of, and definitely something that's amazing about her process.
Yeah. I feel like I had another question in there with it. Yeah. Are there something along the lines of, you're putting Waitress up for third time, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe if we technically get technical
Totally.
with it. Yet there are changes that need to be made.
Yeah.
Like just logistically with technical aspects, and you having the wherewithal to, take a liberty. Is that easy? Is that difficult? Are you even thinking about it? You're just doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of what we're, the big changes with this iteration of the show are in the scenic world for sure. Obviously, figuring out how the show lives and breathes without automation has been really interesting. But I think what's been great is that the show itself has this vocabulary of, props moving around, being delivered to characters by other actors. And I feel like everything that we've done is really in the vocabulary that's already been set up in every single production. So I think it's just being sure you're like true to the world and like making a contract with the audience and sticking to that contract.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. And what's so funny is it works.
Yeah.
It really worked. Like I could have seen the original production without automation.
I love our swirling tables.
I would have completely bought it. I mean, because there's so much otherography within props, forks, napkins, plates, platters, all this stuff. So it's like I would totally buy it if everything.
Does that include me?
Does that include you?
It might. I just realized.
So we took a little pause. We're back.
We're back.
Hello.
Met some Lulus. They were great.
They were great?
Or she was one of them.
Good.
Yeah.
She sounded adorable.
She's adorable.
So cute.
Can you hear over the intercom?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we loved it. Okay, how did the relationship with Tripp Coleman come up?
Oh, yes. So I met Tripp. I did the directing corps at Williamstown a couple summers after I was an apprentice there. So this was after I graduated school. And in that program, you basically, there's 5 directors and you're assigned one of the directors who are working on the main stage shows to be the assistant director.
Right.
So, and then you also get to do all your own work at like 3 a.m. and it's like so crazy and wild and you're just working around the clock and doing like the summer stock thing. And it's amazing. And I highly recommend going to Williamstown to anyone who likes theater.
Yeah, Williamstown and A.R.T. Those are like two.
Those are like 2 big artistic homes for me for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was assigned to be his AD on a show called Unknown Soldier, which was a new musical that they were doing there, and we sort of just hit it off, and I've gotten to collaborate with him on like probably 7 or 8 other shows. And actually, that first show that we did at Williamstown is coming to Playwrights Horizons in New York City in the winter. So that's kind of the next big thing that I'm working on is
Oh my God.
new production of that.
That's like this winter.
Yeah,
January.
Yeah, January.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Come on. Next jobs. We love this.
Yes.
It's fun to really break down these relationships and where they come from and how they're cultivated because it's all about human relationships.
Absolutely.
In this industry in particular.
Absolutely, 100%.
Do you have any mentors?
I mean, definitely Tripp and Diane are like
Yeah.
my main mentors for sure.
Do you ask them questions or do you think like, what would Diane do? And you operate from there? What would
Yeah, I mean, combination for sure. Like definitely getting ready for to do this production of Waitress. I had a nice long talk with Diane about the show and, what the expectations were.
Yeah. Sure.
And she just had like all sorts of different like little details and things that they learned from London and over the last couple of years that she wanted to pass along, which was great. And then, yeah, definitely whenever I'm like in a problem spot, I try and channel them and think about what they would do.
Yeah. And you find your answers.
Yeah, totally. And I think you also just learn so much just being in any sort of process. I mean, the thing about theater especially, it's so collaborative and every single process is completely different, has its own quirks and quarks and problems and great things and
all of
not good things and all of the above. And you just like, it's been great to kind of soak all of that up. And then there also are all the things that are the same that are in every show. Like so much of theater is ritual and so it's a cool combination of like certain things which are just absolute ritual and certain things that are different for every show. And you sort of have to just ride that wave and figure it out.
That's so true. In life, what's most important to you?
What's most important to me in life? Probably being able to do things I love with people who I love.
Sure.
Question mark?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Laughing.
It's good to laugh.
Good to laugh.
Yeah. scheduling it is
Yeah.
it's a good thing having that.
Absolutely. Food. That's probably the other thing.
Yeah. Well, is that like what do you do for fun when you're not thinking about numbers on the stage?
You know,
Or moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think this, freestyle life is you're either like so busy doing 100 different things or doing one project very, very, very intensely that you have no time for anything else, or you're like waiting for the next thing and you're sitting on your butt. Am I allowed to say butt on here?
You can say butt. It's adult programming.
Cool. Yeah, so it's definitely, been always tricky to find
A balance.
that balance.
Yeah.
What do I do for fun? I love yoga. I haven't done much yoga since we've been in tech, but usually I go almost every day if I can.
Okay.
I love to eat food and traipse around New York City. Love to walk around New York City with a friend or with an audiobook or podcast.
What are you listening to?
What am I listening to, like podcast wise?
Sure.
Audiobook? Well,
Both.
all of the above. Yes, a lot of things. So I listen to The Daily pretty much every day.
Right.
Michael Barbaro, shout out. He is my hero. So that's really what gets the day going for me. And then I actually am listening right now to the audiobook of She Said, which is the book about the Harvey Weinstein investigation. It's written by the two journalists that broke the story and kind of about how they got all these people to come forward and do this really scary thing and how that story kind of changed or created the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So that's been super interesting. Just read a book called Maglue by Otessa Moshfagh. She's one of my favorite writers. Read Educated recently. That was really good. Yeah.
Reading's important. I'm reading Loving What Is by Byron
what's that?
Katie.
Oh, I don't know it.
It's about 4 questions that can change your life.
What are the 4 questions?
Well, the first one is it true?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever story you're telling yourself, can you absolutely know that it's true?
Yeah.
How does the thought serve you? Who would you be
Good
without the
question.
thought?
Yeah.
These are sub questions. It's more than 4.
Okay,
4 big
cool,
ones.
cool.
And then turning it around. So if you say I want Jack to be nice to me, it's
I've been saying that for years.
I want me to be nice to me. You know what I mean? Or I look forward to Jack not being nice to me. It's these ways of just changing the stories we tell ourselves because they're so key. But reading is so important, so I'm really glad. Thank you for listing those.
Absolutely. I'm I read. It's my favorite thing to do.
Favorite.
Oh yeah, I
pastime.
should have said that when you asked me what I like to do.
Reading.
Yoga and reading are the 2 things I do for myself.
Here it is right now. Do you
sure.
average a book a month, or is it?
I did do book of a month for a while. I got a little bit sometimes I didn't love their selection. Sometimes they have a really good selection, and sometimes I was getting books that I wasn't really jazzed about reading.
Okay.
So I kind of quit that over the summer, but I got some really good books through them.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
How are you balancing achievements and fulfillment?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess
Oh, it's yeah.
hopefully to me, hopefully your achievements are fulfilling. Otherwise,
In an
they're
ideal
not
world.
really worth it in the end. But yeah, certainly when you get to do a project like this, which is something that I really love and care about, to me, that's the most fulfilling thing in the whole world is building a family with people that you really love and making a piece of work that you really care about. So that, to me, that's the most fulfilling thing in the world. Yeah.
I love that. I love this little bite-sized conversation we've had. Thank you for fitting this in.
Pleasure.
As we wrap up here, billboard quote. Metaphorically speaking, is there a word or a phrase that you'd put on a billboard for millions of people to see?
For millions of people to see? Maybe, what about just listen?
Listen.
Listen. It's so important for us to just listen to each other.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And you learn so much when you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a mentor who always says, listen like crazy. I think it's such a good phrase.
Listen like crazy.
Yeah, I think I put that in my notes to people the other day.
Yeah.
It's listen like crazy, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Love you. This is great.
This is great.
Waitress, baby.
Waitress, baby. Come check it out on the road.
All across in North America
Oh, yeah.
and beyond.
eventually.
Can't wait.
It's going to be cool. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Susanna. This has
Thanks
been
for
great.
having me.
Yes, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Susanna Wolk.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.